All right, good good morning, everybody. This is my first ever live broadcast show over here in the YouTube channel. So I have just created this myself due to a lot of life experiences that I've been through that I want to share with others that I know go through a lot of tough times, whether it's now or before. I like to be able to help others if I can. So a little bit about myself. So I'm going to do like a quick introduction of who I am and why I'm doing this. So I am a mother of with a almost 2-year-old. But the first 18 months, I was in and out of hospitals. Mental health was a bit up and down due to the fact that I had postnatal depression and postnatal anxiety. Now, those two things I thought I would never have in my life. I was a mother, well, not a mother, sorry, a person that was fantastic with children, connected with kids and babies. And, I could be around 20 of them and have the best time of my life. And everyone always said to me, oh, you'll be the best mother. You'll be the best mother. But little did I know that I was going into a pregnancy that wasn't easy, but also then had prenatal depression and had postnatal depression after my birth of my son back in 2018 on the 7th of September when he was born. So as a mum, as a mother, I can understand other mothers who've gone through this or are going through this or will maybe go through this. And it is something that unfortunately a lot of women have not been open about and have not talked enough about. And it's okay not to be okay. It's okay that you don't want to be a mum now and then. It's okay that you just need a break. It's okay to have a bad thought now and then. We are human. Having our children saying something in the moment of a space of having postnatal depression or anxiety, feeling like you don't want to be a mother. Don't feel guilty about that. It's not yourself. It's got your illness that you are currently going through. And I had a lot of dark and negative thoughts when I was going through my postnatal depression, especially at the start. I couldn't even hold my baby boy. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. And I still have bad days now and then here too. I'm not going to lie to you. It's like life. Not everything is meant to be perfect. Not everything is meant to be rainbows and lollipops. There are going to be hard times in life. But the first thing I can say as a mother for myself to get through this was to accept it. To accept it and to understand it. And to know that you should not sit in quietness thinking that you're a bad mother. You should be using the voice that we all have. Use it, speak it up, and get some support. For myself, like I said, I went to a perinatal ward in Mitcham Hospital, which is in Melbourne. And the ladies there, the nurses there were amazing, absolutely amazing. And I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, mothers out there or mothers to be out there, this was probably one of the best things I ever did for myself. At the start, I felt like I was beaten. I had failed. Like I had all the same thoughts as probably most of the mums have gone through or will go through or are going through with this after having the first child, second child. It can happen whenever. So I guess for me, it was something that I was very shocked about. But now I can look back and clearly see why this had happened to me in the ways of I was a very free spirit. I was, on my own most of the time. I used to travel the world, and I had to almost grieve over my old life to accept where I am now, because having a child is one of the most rewarding things in this world, but it's also one of the most hardest things too. And a lot of mums feel bad saying this, and a lot of mums don't like to admit when they go, oh, I just don't want to do this today. You're human. You're allowed to feel things. Okay? Don't feel bad that you've made a mistake. We don't get a book about how we're going to be mums. We learn on the job. And to learn on the job, we must go through experiences. And to go through experiences with your baby or your child or teenager is normal, and it's okay. For myself, the first step was admitting to it, going into the hospital, understanding what spikes, what makes me go like this, learning how to do meditation, how to breathe properly. I know breathing might sound like, oh, I breathe, but no, like actual deep breathing, like just releasing all that negative tension that you have in yourself. So I am a big believer in self-help too. I do believe that, I take medication. I'm not going to lie. I take medication. I don't feel like it's a bad thing. It's helped me, but I think it only helps a little bit. I think a lot of the rest is we got to self-help ourselves, whether that means learning the meditation and doing it at home. If you're, on your own, you could do it when your bub's asleep, or if your bub goes to daycare, or if they're at school, or whatever the situation is. Make the time to do it, because you are an important person. You are the mother, and being a mum, is a full-time job itself. It is not easy, but like I said before, it is very rewarding at the same time as well, because the love that you get is just unexplainable. But to get through this stage for me, after the hospital, I went back to Perth, to WA, where my mum lives, because my partner has to work full-time. So I went back to Perth for 5 weeks. So I had the support and the help to get me through this difficult stage of my life. Now, for me, it was definitely not easy. But the best thing for me was to be with Bob as much as possible, to connect. Because another thing that we give ourselves a hard time is when they first come out, they are strangers. Yes, they've been in us, they're growing in us, but they are strangers. And like anyone, when it's a stranger, you get to know them over time. Now, my boy now is 21 months. And, my relationship with him has definitely grown to a bigger part. But it's taken me a long time to get where I am. I'm not going to lie. It took me a long time. And that's okay, because the journey that we go on is the journey we're meant to be on. So I've learned a lot through my experience. I had to search myself again. I had to connect with who I was again. I did a lot of meditation, because meditation is really good, and not just meditating I mean meditation as well as looking inside into your heart and connecting within who you are again, and connecting with this new person, because being a mum is a new life. It is a new person. It's a new chapter of your life. And it's sometimes, not all mums, but some of us mums, we're just some unlucky mums that unfortunately do get postnatal depression, anxiety. There's no lucky pick. It just happens to some, and it happens maybe not to others. But the worst thing you can do, which is what I got taught through myself going through this procedure, was looking on Facebook. Looking on Facebook or any social media when you are feeling like this really makes you feel worse. I'm going to be honest, you guys. It makes you feel worse, because on Facebook, no one writes the truth much. Everyone puts photos of everyone happy with their babies and their children, and it's like, but no one puts the times behind the doors when it's super hard. No one puts the times when they're screaming and crying, or frustrated, or just want to hide under the sheets. No one puts those photos up. So for me, watching on Facebook made me think, why can that mum be so good with their baby and I can't hardly hold mine? And honestly, when I talked to the nurse, they said, you just need to get off social media for now until you are healthy, until your well-being is back to good. They're like, please do not go on social media, because you are not a bad mother. And I had to eventually come to the circumstances that I am a good mother. I'm getting the help I need so that I can get better, so I can understand what I'm going through. And that's okay. That is okay, ladies. So for me, it was a really up and down journey, guys. I'm not going to lie. It was really up and down. And then I started getting better, and I after being in Perth, I came home and I was looking after Jakey on my own. Sure, I was nervous as heck, but I had to do it because I had no one else, because my partner works full time. When he was home, don't get me wrong, amazing, amazing, amazing father. But a lot of the time I was on my own and I had to just pull up my socks and get on with it. And I used the tools that I got given by not only from the nurses from the hospital, but I had a mentor. My mentor was a very huge inspiration to my life and still is to this day. He is still my mentor because he gives out the raw truth. And he also tells me things I don't want to hear, but I need to hear, which is not a bad thing, I think. But you've got to be ready for that kind of thing once you get through the dark stage. And then things started getting a lot easier for myself. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm starting to connect with Bubba. He started going to daycare just for my own well-being. Once a week we started off with. And then from there, we had Gymboree, we had swimming lessons, we started doing all these really fun activities. So I was enjoying myself and he was enjoying himself. And we started to get to know each other. And the darkness started uplifting off me. The cloud was moving away and turning into a sun. Now, I started then thinking, oh, I'm better. So instead of maybe thinking, okay, so I'm getting better, take baby steps. Instead of me taking little steps, I kind of leaped to the top of the mountain and decided, hey, I can start running my business from home again. I just start doing TAFE full time, and plus being a mum, and I was going to the gym and I was trying to keep my fitness up. And I thought I could be a super mum because I was like, oh, I'm feeling so good now. Like, yeah, let's do this. And no, big no. Don't try to be a super mum. Just being a mum is enough. Being you is enough. I went from here to here. And then after my son's first birthday, about 4 or 5 days later, I dropped again. Pretty deep. And I ended up back in hospital. I was back in hospital for, I think, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And then I got out and then I went back in to another different one to do TMS treatment for the depression that sparked up again. And I was in there for a whole month. And then they were changing me on meds left, right, center, which, it can be such a long procedure and it can be a hard procedure, but, all our bodies are different and all our bodies take on different things and have different reactions to different medications too. After the TMS, I ended up going back into hospital for the last time, thank Lord. And I was in there for about a week and a half, starting to figure out that I went backwards again, because I was feeling good and I thought, yes, I can do this. And unfortunately, guys, I went from here and I dropped back down because I did way too much. I put too much on my plate, which put too much pressure on myself. And yeah, I couldn't do it. And I had to admit to myself eventually around it and say, being a mum is a hard enough job, Rach, and it's okay to be just a mum. It's okay. Because I was trying to now start avoiding to be at home. I got so cooped up in the hospital in my own little bubble that I had to admit to myself that I was keeping away from being a mum. I found everything getting too hard for myself again. And after that, I got myself a therapist. And when I saw my therapist for the first time, I was so nervous. I've never been a nervous person. I've always been a very confident, very strong-willed person. And I was actually nervous to go in there. And having to admit that I just didn't want to be a mother right now again was the hardest thing I could have admit to, but I had to admit to it because I had to go a step forward again instead of going backwards. I had to go forward to get myself back into where I was. And each week that I saw my therapist got a little bit easier, and a little bit easier. And now she's saying to me pretty much that, we need to still keep in touch, but it's not urgent like it was anymore. So I've gone through again another big step. There's days that I feel a bit off and I think, oh, what's going on here? But then I also think to myself, we're going through a huge thing in this world at the moment with the COVID-19. So I do a lot of meditation through this stage at the moment. I also do a lot of walks and connecting myself to Mother Nature, taking my shoes off, standing on the ground, connecting again, and doing a lot of heart search and connecting within myself to find out what my values and beliefs are, and finding out the identity of who I actually am. And I always say, since I've got through the hardest parts, I go to myself, it's okay not to always feel 100%, and not to be hard on yourself when those days come, but to understand why you're feeling like that, and think of what you're going through to find the solution to make you feel better. Whether it might take a little bit of time to get there, but to have a plan ahead of you to support you and your family to help you get through these hard times. So that's just a little bit what I wanted to talk about today. Like I said, it was just going to be a short introduction, and I hope that some of the women out there that are watching, remember, you are beautiful. You are amazing, Mum. And right now, you're just going through some hard times, but you will get through it. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. So to all the beautiful mothers out there, thank you so much for watching me and for listening to me. And hopefully there's something there that has helped you. And I will do another live stream tomorrow. But thank you for watching. See ya.